Here's her game. Hey, I want to tell you a secret. We need to talk privately because I can only tell you, and you have to swear you won't tell anyone else, especially not my husband.
So when I say something
like... to you in private, but you can't tell Albert about anything that led up to it or anyone else.
Albert will not know anything.
I understand that, but I will, but I need your help, and I need to know that you tell me there's resources, you tell me whatever, okay? I know you're saying you got whatever, this and that and all that, but I really am going to need help, like, a lot.
Letecia is beginning her siren song. You know, to cause sailors to crash on the rocks. The allure of a secret, told in a private, shared moment. Intimate. And only he can know. He's the only one she can tell. He's special. And swear you won't tell. I'm trusting you, and I'm setting up an obligation. You must not betray me. I'm vulnerable and you're strong. I need you. Guys, if you ever encounter this, run for the hills, man. I don't care if you've had 10 beers and she's pretty. You never want to be alone with this personality.
So you care about Gannon?
I care about Gannon. I have reached out every day offering for people to go in these certain places to get even insight, to see. I every day ask, hey, can you go do this? Can someone meet with you?
So you've asked someone to go look for him?
Right, like I reached out and I asked Albert, I said, hey, can you meet me? Let me tell you about this, and let's go to this location to look. I've asked all these.
What location do you think he's at now?
She says she reached out every day to people, plural. Then a cryptic use of certain places. But really, who she asked was Albert. One person, her target. And we know her desire to meet had nothing to do with Gannon. Letecia tried to exploit a father's love and desperation for her own selfish ends, her own bottomless pit of need. As she lies to make herself look good, she claims she said, let's go to this location to look, and Agent Grusing calls her on the lie, without calling her on the lie, when he says, what location do you think he's at now? Watch her reaction.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like,
no,
in general.
No, but I'm asking you.
In
right
general.
Now, where do you think he is right now?
I don't know exactly. I don't know.
Well, where do you know him to last?
But I am 99% confident Gannon is alive.
Okay. Letecia, where do you know him to last be?
I want to help her, but I'm in a room, and you've already talking about all this and the courts, and it's me against everybody else.
So here's the deal. Once this thing goes through the courts, you talk about that. You're the only one to be with him. You think you're going to be able to tell a story.
A story?
It might be a true story.
God, sir.
But listen, I've listened to a lot of your stories, and I don't know what else to tell them.
Yeah, okay, but that's because I was mad at him. Had nothing. I already knew.
But I've seen what you told the news reporter. I've listened to what you told El Paso about the sex assault that happened in the house.
I already knew that you guys were listening to him.
Yeah.
So I said that because I was angry.
But what I think I can offer you today is some help.
Okay.
She didn't expect that. She loses more fluency, but recovers and points out her plight, that she's in a room. She says it's everybody against her. Everyone else is on the side of finding Gannon. Anyone on the opposite side of finding this little boy, well, that's a problem, isn't it? It's telling. She laughs at him and calls him sir. She needs to exhale some of her tension, and the laugh serves that need, but it's also a way to communicate that what he is saying is ridiculous, laughable. When she tries to come up with an excuse for why she's told so many stories, he squashes the argument before it comes out of her mouth. She actually shuts up for a second before she finishes what she was going to say, even though it's clear he's not buying it.
And so I'm looking at your story, the ones that you've told to Al, the ones that you've said in the media, of hitting your head. When you hit your head, you didn't see what happened. And then when someone else takes Gannon, or when he's riding a bike and he hits his head and stuff like that.
Riding a bike. I just told you I was saying that to Albert because I was upset that he wasn't listening to me, that I did not hurt Gannon.
I don't think you intended to hurt Gannon at all.
There's no...
No, I'm not saying you did, or he hurt himself. Something bad happened in his ring. Have you seen you helped clean it off the wall? We know that.
This here, what you're talking about is completely irrelevant. About the whole thinking bad, whatever.
Tell me about, if it's irrelevant, Letecia, help me. Because there's a big blood pool in the corner, there's spray on the wall.
Because if I tell you anything about any of that, all you're going to say to me is, hey,
if you didn't do it, no, I will be your advocate. Because why do we know each other?
No, but
why would I care? If you didn't do it, and it helps me find Gannon?
I didn't do it.
Okay, well then help me find out who did.
Who did what?
That to Gannon in his room.
Done what to Gannon in his room?
There's a pool of blood in the corner.
Okay.
That's Gannon's blood.
Okay, so you're saying, now this is where I have a hard time knowing what it is. You're like, okay, trust you or not, right? You're saying there's a pool of blood. Albert said saucer size, because I'm sure you had him say all this, because I'm sure you were there, or whatever. Okay. In his room, and you said something about, what'd you say? Then, if that's your whatever, your expert advice or whatever, okay, then where do you think that I had any involvement with Gannon, and where did he go? That's where it has to click at some point.
And that's what I listened to you do that to Al, to where you're making him guess what happened to Gannon.
I don't want him to guess.
Well, no, you're asking me to guess.
No, I was asking the question, sir. I wasn't trying to get. I was just saying in general, asking the question. I want help with people understanding. I tried to give any insight, help, clue, anything, but I can't because they know my daughter, everyone, my family, my mom, everyone. And you can think that.
But right now, Letecia, I mean, you can go down that road, but it's not going to save you in court.
What?
Because you're the last adult with him. And nobody else, just let me try to protect you. I'm not trying to hurt you here. This is actually protecting you. If you don't tell us where to go investigate, then nobody's going to investigate for you. You're the last adult with him. You told a lot of lies about all these injuries.
Not to you. I didn't tell lies to you or to any police officer.
Who tells a parent horrific stories about that parent's child being seriously injured or abducted? Can you think of any reason to torture someone like that? You can hear she feels perfectly justified. When Agent Grusing said something bad happened in Gannon's room, this got a big reaction from her. Her voice is quiet, but her body language is big, and she calls him sir, like she's pleading. But then she tells him it's irrelevant. She's so accustomed to getting away with gaslighting, she expects to get away with it here. In spite of everything, she says, done what to Gannon? This is some other level of gaslighting. I gotta hand it to this agent. I'd have stood up and left. When he points out she's told all kinds of lies, her response is, not to you, not to any police officer. Well, that's a lie too. And it illustrates something else. She's letting him know she thinks it's fine to lie. It's fine to lie about the whereabouts of this little boy. It's fine to lie for the purposes of hurting someone, as long as you don't lie to the police. She wants him to either agree with her or debate her on this point, because then she can drag him into the weeds and take things in a different direction. Watch how he does not take the bait.
Did a sex assault happen in the house?
I didn't tell any lies to you or a police officer.
So we don't have anybody to chase, though. If we don't chase you, do you understand?
But if you chase me, okay, and you do this to me, people are protected because you guys aren't going to protect everybody. People are protected.
We can protect people. We can protect you, family, if this is involved. Now, I've worked South American death groups. I've worked gangsters. I've worked organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
None of that stuff rings true with what happened here.
He didn't even acknowledge her lie about lying. That would have given her control over the conversation. Instead, he moves right along to his next question, and instead of answering, she repeats herself. Remember how in the beginning of this interview, she tried to use the word integrity as a hook into him? Remember during phone calls with Al? She uses his own values as a man to hook and manipulate him. She's doing that again here when she says that if the FBI goes after her, they're failing in their job of protecting people. When that doesn't get him, and he says, none of that rings true, she makes a sound and breaks eye contact as if to say she's frustrated with his stupidity. We've seen this before. If the person she's trying to control doesn't go along, she demeans them.
I mean, how is a very organized gang going to come into a house in Colorado Springs?
You said a house. Why does it have to be in the house? See, that's where
where he last was. Oh. Are you going to make me guess where he was then?
No, I'm telling you. You're not going to listen to me. You already just said that his last was in the house.
But you're going back to you care what I think. You shouldn't care what I think.
I do care what you think. You want to know why? Because I care about how people think of me, because I am not that kind of person. That's why.
And if you can point me to a different person, then I can help you.
I gave him.
Why does it have to be in the house? That's a weird question, isn't it? As if they're talking about a fictional story. It's obvious she's trying to direct police focus away from the house. If the police didn't already know it happened in the house, they'd know it now. And notice, she didn't answer the question about her assault story.
Did you know in here I even have what you entered in your phone? The stuff that you've entered and deleted? Like blood is spurting from an arterial bleed, direct pressure not controlling.
Do what? I didn't look this up.
It's from your phone.
Blood is what?
Spurting from an arterial bleed.
No.
Somebody did from your phone. I don't like my stepson.
No.
I don't like my stepson. Should I get a divorce?
Sorry to cut this segment so short, but it's too important to let it go on. Does anyone know the date of that search? She wouldn't have Googled that during the crime. No sensible person would Google that during such an event if it were real. If she Googled it in advance, it could go to premeditation. She may have been trying to find a way to kill Gannon to make it look like an accident. Thus, the repeated mentions of the box cutter. She may have wanted to set it up to look like Gannon accidentally cut his throat and she valiantly tried to save him. It's possible that during the crime, she cut his throat first, and it didn't do the job, so she had to stab him. And when that didn't work, well, you know what happened. Whether a staged accident was the plan or not, she was running out of time. She was about to be caught for misrepresenting herself to her new employer. She would lose her job. She and Al had already talked divorce, and the job loss might have been the final straw. She needed to do this thing when no one else was home. The fire didn't kill him. There was no opportunity on the hike. Gannon had already been injured in the fire, and his story wouldn't jive with hers. Letecia's window of opportunity was closing.
Stalk cheating. I'll stalk Instagram. I'll stalk cheating in Colorado Springs. Catch, I'll stalk cheating. How to get blood out of sheep.
Out of sheep?
Mm-hmm. I want immunity.
The blood out of sheep was because we always had, always nosebleeds. If I ever looked up blood out of sheep, it was nosebleeds.
And I figured it might be something.
I didn't ever look up anything about an artery or something unless it went from something else.
It's on your phone.
And I never looked up anything about my stepson unless someone else did it.
The reason I brought up gangs is you looked up, I want immunity because it was gang related. And this sounds like find me a new husband, find me a rich guy who wants to take care of his kids.
The new husband is just because Albert already knew that was about the lady Debbie Sherrill who wanted to find a new husband after 35 or something. He picked me about Amazon.
And like a lot of these can have nothing to do with this.
It doesn't.
I get it. Can I spray paint wood?
Spray paint wood? Well, we always spray wood.
Yeah. I'm doing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help.
Oh, that bothered me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame
Oh, yes, because I wanted them to be mine.
What about
me to be their child.
Hit and run? You Googled a lot on Letecia and traffic accident, hit and run.
No, I didn't hit anybody.
No? What was that?
What date was it?
I don't have a date on these. I was downloading stuff as I was coming on the plane.
Yeah, no, I don't.
My husband wants a divorce. My husband wants a baby, but I want an abortion. One day, some people will wish they treated you differently, which I get that. Parenting should be for people, not one. Suppose a suicidal person might say. I mean, these make me very sad when I read them because I can see you're doing all the work at home by yourself.
Which I wanted to be there. I wanted to totally have the kids as my children. That's the point you're not getting. I wanted those kids to be saying to me that I'm their mom.
Yeah.
I am the person who does it, cares for them, loves them, everything. So you can think that.
What do you do if you suspect a person swallowed poison? Did somebody actually swallow poison?
Poison? I don't know. I always click things and read them.
Did somebody swallow it?
No one swallowed any poison.
You will never forgive me and treat me like a princess. You'll never know when it's too late.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always search for things in Albert.
The search on the hit and run with her name makes me wonder if she'd been involved in a hit and run before. Remember she'd said previously, so in part 2, she said she'd been hearing "I love you" more and more often from Gannon. That's a lie, but it was important to her. And how Gannon wouldn't see the light about his mother, and how Gannon wanted his mother around the holidays. Letecia was jealous of Landon. Letecia wanted Landon's husband and her children. She wanted the love Landon got, and she wanted it all. Children of narcissists will understand this. The child has to love the narcissist completely and perfectly. But the rules about what that looks like change constantly. The rules are based on what the narcissist needs in the moment. Nobody can live up to that, and a child certainly can't. The thing about kids is that they're honestly and simply who they are, and Letecia can't handle that. Moreover, her focus is on having love from the children, not loving them. The children, including Harley, were merely tools to meet her needs. As for the searches for Al cheating, maybe he cheated, maybe he didn't. That's actually besides the point. She thought or suspected or worried that he was cheating, and that indicates problems in the marriage and goes to motive in this case. It also shows that she's trying to surveil him. If somebody is trying to surveil you in a relationship, that's a problem. Could the poison be related to the bath salts thing? I'm still not satisfied with any of the explanations to date about this, and there's something more to that. Could she have been trying to stage an accidental poisoning?
Everything.
If you're not willing to go with who took Gannon, can you at least tell me what injuries he suffered? The true ones? As far as the cut foot, was that a legit injury?
Yes.
And where did that happen?
So he was outside in the garage, and when he was outside in the garage, he was running to go help me take the trash. Take the trash out, come back and help me get stuff out of the car, and then he stepped on something, which I left the blood there. Like, I left it, like, because Albert said, don't touch that fine wood or African wood, whatever kind of wood it was.
What did the piece of wood look like? Okay. And it's still there in the garage?
I had to drive over them all the time. Like, I always had to drive over the pieces of wood.
Right. But
Right.
You didn't take that out of the garage?
It's too big. You couldn't fit it in anything. You couldn't have fit the pieces. The long boards that were in the garage, you could not fit. I left. Okay, so there was the piece of board that I threw in the back of our truck, and then there was the two long boards that were sitting there. So the board that was about like this size, and the board that was the long boards that were sitting here. I left the long boards because that was supposed to be the fancy wood, and I didn't want to avoid or trying to get the blood off of it. The other piece of wood was the wood that I threw in the back of Albert's truck.
And what was that one?
There was a bunch of pieces that were laying around that from that night, from us running through there. It was like little pieces. There was a piece about this size, maybe a couple pieces. But
And
that
you threw it in the back of the truck? That bigger piece?
You said bigger like this. It wasn't that big.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cheap wood. Like, I knew it was not the wood that he would be freaking out over. So from Sunday, he did hurt his foot from Sunday.
And how badly was it bleeding?
It wasn't. I say Sunday, Saturday, I'm sorry. From Saturday. Albert had just left, like, to drive to the airport. He wasn't even gone long.
Mm-hmm.
He had just left to drive to the airport.
Okay. So, did it require a Band-Aid? Or?
Whenever he always does something, he tries to be like, he's not like Lena where he's like, oh, I need a Band-Aid or whatever. Gannon would literally walk around with toilet paper in the middle of his toe, and it would have blood or whatever, and just run everywhere to his room or whatever.
Yeah. So what did you do on this occasion?
We literally took the paper towel, that's what I just told you about the toe, and put in between them.
So it was in between his toes is where the injury
No,
was?
it was like wrapped here.
Okay.
Like, we had it wrapped. And I don't remember if we got a Band-Aid, to be honest. This is what Gannon.
When he asks her whether or not the wood is still in the garage, instead of answering, she starts explaining various things about the wood, giving reasons for things and not answering his simple yes or no question. In the midst of her explaining, she mentions the piece of board. It's not a piece of board. The piece of board she threw in the back of Albert's truck. And she yammers on, but we know now that she put the board into the back of a truck. When he asks if Gannon's cut was enough to need a Band-Aid, Letecia launches into explaining reasons instead of simply answering the question. If Gannon had cut his foot at all, Letecia didn't put a Band-Aid on it. For the sake of argument, let's say he really did cut his foot. She's describing Gannon as stoic, therefore not in need of a Band-Aid. She'd previously mentioned Gannon's high pain tolerance too. Look, whether the child complains or not, an injury requires a look and some first aid. Just because a person doesn't complain about pain, or they seem to tolerate it well, doesn't mean they should have to endure it. Even those of you who are not parents would at least stop and look if a child sustained an injury sufficient to make a bloody mess. No one is going to see a child's blood all over the floor and not take a look. I don't believe Gannon cut his foot, but that's just my opinion. And whether he did or not, Letecia's own story about this shows us who she is. And that's not the Mother of the Year like she wants everyone to believe. When the agent asks about the Band-Aid, He's not trying to figure out whether or not she's Mother of the Year. He's trying to determine whether the purported injury could cause that amount of blood or not. She misses this because she's so focused on herself. Then she can't get straight whether she put paper towels between his toes or whether she wrapped his foot with paper towel. Try this at home. Try to wrap your foot with a paper towel and see how long it stays there. Then she says she doesn't remember if she put a Band-Aid on it. Which is it? When she says that, she gives a single shoulder shrug and shakes her head, an indication she doesn't believe what she's saying. Then she says Gannon and can't come up with the rest of the sentence, and finally gives a big, I don't know, gesture. It's not that she doesn't know what happened. It's that she doesn't know what to say.
So that doesn't sound like a big injury.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, there was no big injury. I left it on the wood because I said, I'm not going to clean his fine African wood.
What did it look like on the wood? Drops? Streaks?
Well, what I did originally was I was trying to take water to do it, but then I realized if I put cleaner, then that wouldn't do anything but cause the wood to damage, because Albert always wanted to build things with all the wood that we bought. And if I use those pieces of wood and all that stuff, you know.
Did you ever use that shop vac to clean up anything out there?
No, I never used the shop vac. The shop vac was never, I couldn't even move anything with the shop. Anything that would have been used with the shop vac would have been Albert, other than the times that we brought it, which would have been weeks ago, and we did spring cleaning or fall cleaning around the house, in the corners. So that would have been the shop vac. There was nothing I ever did and vacuumed up something with a shop vac.
Right, that helps me.
Like any of that.
Right.
There none of that ever happened.
So the burns on the arms weren't that bad. The cut on the toe or the bottom of the foot wasn't that bad.
And we still were able to go hiking. He was able to still go hiking. It was bleeding on the board.
But not after that, not over the house, that sort of thing.
Well, he had the piece of paper and went down to his room.
Yeah.
Wrapped around his foot. So, I mean, if anything, there could have been drops of blood or something. No.
What about the wound to the head that you talked to Al about?
So, Albert was, trying to get me to say whatever, because I'm sure you guys are having to do that. I knew that's what he was doing. So, Albert was trying to get me to say that, talk to him about, or whatever. So I threw out some stories to Albert because he was making me so upset. Just like everyone not understanding that intervention flips. There's someone intervening in this. And that's where people didn't understand and want to say anything. So I just started rambling stuff to Albert. And I even said to you guys, hey, I know you're listening. And it was just to...
This is almost comical. She says she didn't try to clean the wood and then immediately describes how she tried to clean the wood. Okay, Letecia. That she goes on about not using the shop vac makes me think she used the shop vac. Albert was trying to make her say something? No, he was trying to get the truth. And she tells him something horrible and frightening and heartbreaking because she was upset. She's admitting she's willing to tell big lies about important things and that the lies are actually designed to hurt somebody. It's hard to hear, but she says the word intervention. It's not part of a complete sentence, and she says it quietly. When someone's volume drops like that, pay attention. We all know that the intervention or intervening people stories she tells are lies. Even if she told a believable story, that drastic volume drop on the word intervention is enough to warn you to look closely at whatever story is told in relation to that word. And she has to keep throwing in how she knew the police were listening to her calls with Al. Her ego won't let her look like she doesn't know everything and could be caught.
to be whatever.
But do you know what that sounds like, though, to a dad who's whipping his kid, and then you say, and a previous head wound happened where it was blood running down his face and that sort of thing, and it, had to bandage it up. And
well, I don't remember saying anything about bandaging up.
I think he said Quincy Brown tried to bandage it up.
Oh, because he was making me mad about something. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember me saying I did that.
So he did suffer a head wound.
Head?
Yes, head or neck.
Okay.
And that is what caused the blood there. And so, even if you choose not to tell us where Gannon is today because you're too nervous or whatever else, we would like to know where that was on him. So if we find him on our own, if you've given me the clues to go find him, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that wound?
Gannon is alive.
He's alive, fine, but where was that wound? Was it his neck or his head?
I don't know anything about a neck or head.
Well, you had to clean up the wall. You went ahead.
That was not. That is not even from what you're talking about. There had nothing to do with anything from Saturday, Sunday, and whatever. That had nothing to do with any of it.
How could it not?
It did
that
not.
Was a lot of blood.
It did not.
You're going to have to explain that.
Sir, it did not.
Well, just tell me how.
It did not. I promise
But
you.
you're not going to tell me how. So where we can help you with it.
You're not going to help me, though.
How could I not help you? How are you going to get up, Letecia, on the stand after telling all these stories, which we're going to ask you about, and then say, I can explain all that, and it's some party that I never told law enforcement to go chase? If Gannon is alive, we have an 11-year-old kid somewhere being held against his will, and you're not telling us. You might as well have done this yourself. That's why I'm saying...
Let me hold you again. I'll right there. Hey.
He's trying to get her to feel some sympathy for Al. And instead of addressing the issue of Gannon's head wound and the horrifying nature of her story, she says, well, I don't remember anything about bandaging it. She is absolutely devoid of empathy. In this moment, she doesn't even know she's supposed to fake it. When Grusing is trying to figure out whether Gannon's injury was to his head or neck, her response is so blasé. People are more passionate about which way the toilet paper roll goes on the holder than she is about grave injuries to a child. Notice when she's saying the blood spatter has nothing to do with what happened? She says Saturday, Sunday, whatever. She doesn't say Monday, which is the day she killed Gannon. She starts with straight up repetition of, it did not. I'm not even going to go on about this, but I bet you could use some levity at the moment, so I will let Monty Python make the comment.
I did. You did? I'm telling you I did. You didn't. Yes, you did. No, he didn't. Yes, you did. Yes, no, he didn't. Yes, no, he didn't. Yes, no, he didn't.
She uses sir sucking up with fake deference, and her body language is in full self-protection mode. What she wrote down there was that the head thing happened on Saturday.
About the blood on the back of the teak one.
Teak one?
Mm-hmm.
The only blood would have been in the back of the teak when we opened the car up. In the car, we were sitting there to do his foot. There's nothing to do with this.
There's too much to be
no,
toe.
No. No, sir. That is absolutely not true. That was where we were sitting on the back of the car when we were unloading the stuff. We were sitting on the back of the car. There is no, no, sir. Mm-mm.
There's plenty in the garage, so.
But there was nothing in the garage. There was plenty of times that everybody worked in the garage. Had nothing to do with.
Not everybody. Gannon's not working in the garage and bleeding all over the place.
There was nothing about bleeding all over the place in the garage that had to do with anything. I'm telling you, what you're asking me was completely, totally different than anything has to do with.
Do you know what this looks like? Say you're telling me the truth. Again, please don't care what I think. Say you're telling me the truth right now. That Saturday had nothing to do with him disappearing and being gone for over a month. Do you know what that looks like for you?
It looks like I am in the middle of a situation and I need help getting out.
But you're not willing to tell me how to help you. So now you're saying that Gannon had a really bad head wound on Saturday.
No, I didn't say that. That's not what I said.
The head thing was Saturday,
right.
and the
saying,
amount of blood
no,
there?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what you're talking about completely different than what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this doesn't look any better for you, because now you haven't told Al that he has a head wound. You haven't called the hospital.
It wasn't like that. It was
Well,
not.
Well, then you have to tell me. I mean, you don't have to do anything, but...
It's not what it was like, sir. It's not. Had nothing to do with me. It's not what it was like, sir. Okay?
She's scrambling. She invents a new detail now to explain the blood in the Tiguan. She calls him sir, and that no is as much worry as it is denial. The use of absolutely is suspicious, but by itself it's not conclusive. When she says it, she's using her arms and hands to cover her abdomen, protecting herself. While she's saying no, no sir, Agent Grusing is just sitting back, observing. His simple act of remaining relaxed and observant would add even more pressure to her. When you look at the dynamic here, even without sound, it's obvious who has the power, as much as Letecia grasps at it. Even when he asks her if she understands what all this looks like, she still turns it around so that the focus is on what she can get. She can't even admit that it looks bad for her. If you were in a situation in which you were accused of something you didn't do, but the evidence made you look like a suspect, would you deny that you look bad, or would you concede that you look bad and be mortified by that? The best thing for an innocent person in this situation is for police to investigate the heck out of it so the person can be exonerated. But Letecia is not innocent, and she knows it. And where are all her alternate personalities through all this? When he starts to call her on the head wound, she gets into semantics. She didn't say head wound. She said head thing. Aside from her typical game playing, and notice this is another opportunity to go off topic and debate what she did or didn't say and thus go get into the weeds. What exactly is head thing? It's a way to soften the awful reality, a way to distance herself from responsibility. She'd written the head thing happened, not she did it, somebody did it, it happened, not taking responsibility for her action that caused his injury. She explicitly confirms her refusal to take responsibility, to say it had nothing to do with her. The more she talks, the worse she gets. She's tangled up in her own web of lies.
Someone else injured him on Saturday. That's an easy question. You don't even have to tell me a name. Did someone else injure him on Saturday?
I wanted to meet friends, because I didn't have friends. Okay. So I wanted to meet friends. Albert ever tell you about any of these apps we had to go on?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's where this is going to be whatever, because you're not going to take my version and my side of what really happened.
Letecia, let me stop. If you help us, I will take whatever version you tell me, and I will actually prove it. That's all I do is I don't chase. I am wrong most of the time.
Do you have a way to pull up apps? Do you have a way to pull up the stuff on apps? Do you have that?
We can do that while you're here, yes.
Okay. Well, I know I'm saying, you said you have this.
Yes, we have ways to pull up apps.
Okay.
What app?
How do you have ways to pull up apps?
We have technical people. I'm not a tech person, but we have plenty of tech people that are super smart to do it. If you tell me what to do, we can do that while we're talking, take a break, you go to the restroom, whatever else. We can solve this thing right now.
Why come I just can't talk to you without a bunch of people watching me?
then we can talk right now.
Yeah, but come on, there's people here.
Yeah. What do you want me to, you tell me what you want to do, and I will have you.
I want to talk to you to tell you about leading up to anything. I want to talk to you because I want you to find Gannon, and I believe in all my heart you will help me. Not lie to me.
I will help you.
Not try to say, oh, you're telling the story and throw me somewhere. Okay.
So is he alive?
Let me finish this and I'll
Sorry.
answer the question. I understand what you're saying about federal versus local, whatever. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to want to talk to you is that I don't want anything said before held against me if I provide you with 100% the truth to help you.
That'll work. This is the first time we're talking, and it's for a reason. You haven't talked to the feds yet.
Right. So if I can, I don't want to be sitting here with all these people watching because I want you to listen to exactly what happened and go from there. Okay?
Okay.
And that's not, I know you're trained to do this and interrogate people and all this. I want nothing more than for Gannon to be okay. That's all I want. I promise you.
I suspect that when she's asking if he can pull up apps, that although she implies that will help investigators, what she's really doing is trying to figure out what they can and cannot do. When she hears they can look at an app, and he says they can do it right now, she switches tactics. She wants to talk to him, and only him. Remember, he's special, and they can have a private moment. It's intimate, and she believes with all her heart he will help her. Ooh, Special Agent Sir, you are so important and strong, and I'm a poor damsel in distress, and you can be my hero. So yes, it's a game, but it's more than that. It shows she's aware they're being watched. It shows her wish to communicate in a manner in which she can't be held accountable. If she can get him alone, she can use tactics she cannot use on camera. If she can speak to him privately, she can later lie about the interaction. If he takes her up on a private meeting, he risks the whole case, and he risks his career and maybe even his family life. But he knows that. And she has an opportunity here to come clean. It's the first time she's talking to the FBI. So if she tells the truth now, she can escape full accountability for her previous lies. But you see, she's not actually seeing the opportunity because she's too busy using this as a tool to get him alone. This is like watching a chess match between Gary Kasparov and Florida Man. She says, I promise you. She said, I promise a few times. So I want to address something about this. When somebody adds, I promise, to the end of a statement, what's happening goes beyond merely behavior designed to convince. Predators profile their targets. When you hear this, it's a signal to you that they've observed you and are picking up on your uncertainty, and that something in you has picked up on their true intentions. When someone wants something from you that puts you at risk, or if you're in a situation, let's say you're being robbed, a person saying, I won't hurt you, is different from a person saying, I don't want to hurt you, which is different from, I won't hurt you, I promise. The I promise is your cue. You're in trouble. Here, when she's saying, I promise, she's telegraphing she's up to something bad. But he has been trained in exactly this, in exactly those words.
That's all I want.
Mm-hmm.
It. And I will take whatever resources, whatever help you want me to go do, even if it means take myself in the middle of somewhere where someone wants me to go to get him. Make sure he's okay. I would do it. Because I love Gannon. And I love my family. And I love the ground that everybody walks on. Albert, Harley, Lena, Gannon. That is my family.
So,
I know in the end, you might think you got whatever by this and forensics and whatever. And I'm not arguing any of that. Very smart to know that you're a smart man and not stupid. But I need the help, the resources to not be attacked anymore. To know that something on the stupid app was a silly mistake. Okay?
so you brought someone in.
So I'm not, I
know, I get it. So, I'm representing law enforcement from Colorado. Okay. And if you tell me something, even though, we've started a recording now, whatever else, and if you say we won't talk unless we turn off the recording, that can happen, but I'm going to pull in all those resources.
No, I want you to pull in resources. I'm not denying you to say pull in the resources. I'm looking at you from mother to a father. I have been scared.
She continues on to say the evidence is wrong. The FBI apparently are too stupid to understand it properly. And then immediately lays it on how he's a smart man. But she needs them to give her something and to stop attacking her. She perceives an investigation into a missing boy as an attack. Let me ask you something. If your child was missing and you knew the police had to look into you to eliminate you as a suspect before they could move on, wouldn't you be in a hurry to cooperate? The fact that she sees it as an attack speaks to her complicity at the very least, if not her guilt. It's also in keeping with her personality. She goes back to the use of an emotional hook when she appeals to him as a father. When you deal with psychopaths, they hear everything you tell them. They observe, not because they care about you, but because they are compiling information about you that they can then exploit to manipulate you. In the next sentence after this hook, she uses another emotional hook. She's scared, poor, vulnerable, damsel in distress. It's a game. Imagine how scared Gannon must have felt. Imagine how terrifying and confusing and profoundly heartbreaking and soul-crushing it was for him as the person who was supposed to love and protect him was annihilating him.
Because I don't know what's going to happen, not with because I did something. I wouldn't have told you that there was people, random people, intervention, or all these things if there wouldn't have been. Okay? I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Could have easily just been like, hey, if there was truly what you guys had thought about, I don't think you intentionally done it, there was an accident, common sense, well enough to know, pick up the phone and say an accident happened. I'm not stupid, okay? Might be freaking out because I don't know how to get this help, but I'm not stupid, okay? And that's looking you dead in the eye to tell you, I did not hurt Gannon at all, okay? Where are you? So if you're willing to give me the opportunity to talk to you, I don't want to be like watched by people. I don't want to be, whatever.
This is a separate recorder. This is mine.
Right. And so does the murder we challenge.
Yeah, they do.
Right. Right. But I need the help.
You'll get the help.
Okay.
All we're focusing on is finding this.
Okay. And that's what I want. I don't want to look at you look at me like I'm just this bad person who doesn't want to find our child. That's not it. I just don't, when it came at me as an attack, okay, because that's what originally happened, okay, and I get it. They have to do their job. And guess what? They're probably parents too, right? So they have to do their job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I get that part. Okay? You can ask me about any of these, whatever. I'm sure it was something I saw somewhere, and I don't never looked up anything about some stepchild. I looked up how I haven't got help, and how I wanted help, and how I wanted to be the person that they always were. Why I didn't even want them to go home. I didn't even want them to have to go to their mother at all, because I had to see the pain and agony out of it, worry. So you're going to take my character based upon
No, I'm not.
whatever.
This is part. Listen, when when a kid goes missing, we don't only look at the person, we look at the entire neighborhood, we go through people, closets, we go, everybody's lives is turned upside down.
And I'll tell you right now, if any of this is since then, of course I looked at what people said. If people said something about the FBI, I Googled FBI.
You worry too much about what we think. If you will get us there, we can protect you.
Okay, so then I talk to you. And I don't talk to Myrtle Beach Police Department and all these other people. I talk to you and I explain to you. Okay? Because you already saying you are charging me with something.
It's already been charged.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You're already saying that. Okay? So how do I know that when I give you this here information?
But that's what this recording does. It protects you because I've already told you we will do this. We used to not record things, but we do now. And the only people sitting in there is the district attorney and some of the El Paso people. Myrtle Beach has nothing to do with this. They helped us find you.
Right.
So they have to be involved in this.
I understand it. There's nothing against Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach is not in on it.
Okay, well,
if someone else took Gannon,
we
can find it.
Here. I don't like that. I want to be able to have an emotional, raw conversation.
Let's do it now.
I can't.
I mean, we can't go anywhere. Where do you want to go?
Because I know people are sitting there.
Nobody's sitting there.
Okay, someone's watching from there.
They are in the other room. It's the district attorney. Do you want me to tell them they can't watch?
No, I want to talk to someone in a raw, real conversation so you can see truly in my heart the situation. That's what I want.
That's what this is.
No, it's not that.
But how can I make
Who is
it
it? The district attorney from Colorado?
Yes.
Yeah, see?
I can ask them to leave the room.
It's not about leaving the room. It's about I'm asking for, instead of going through all, this, whatever, sitting here wasting our time or whatever, I'm asking. Because I'm taking your word that you're going to help me and you're going to provide the resources from wherever you said you have them.
A minute ago, she was suggesting she lied before, but was willing to tell the truth now. But that's because she was trying to lure him away from the interview room. She confirms that was the game by now saying what she said before was true, that there was someone else involved. She demonstrates that she knows if there was an accident, that it's common sense to pick up the phone. Here we are. If she'd had a psychotic break and killed Gannon during that, then once she came back to her senses, common sense dictates picking up the phone and calling 911. But instead, she went to extreme lengths to cover up her crime. And at this point is still covering her crime. And even as I sit here now recording this, she is still trying to get away with it. When she says she doesn't want him to think she doesn't want to find Gannon, she uses the words, our child. This tells me she still believes she and Albert are together, that she still has a chance with Albert. And she brings up Landon again. Those kids loved their mother, and Letecia couldn't stand it. She spills her intention with Agent Grusing as she says, I want to be able to have an emotional, raw conversation. Let me sing my siren song. Sail your ship over here on these rocks. It'll be good. I promise.
Let me ask you some questions, okay? Because this is our investigation.
Right.
You're taking all these trips up to Palmer Lake. Multiple trips. Different cars. Renting a car.
Okay.
How are you not involved in this?
First off, I didn't ever get the drive to rental car anywhere. Because immediately once we, let me go and correct on this now. Once we got the rental car or whatever, the National Guard was there. Everybody was in the house. We went in Albert's truck the whole entire day going to Come and Go and all these places. So I never drove the rental car anywhere. And it's already been corrected from budget about the rental car situation. I had to get that corrected yesterday. I never even drove it anywhere because I didn't get to. So whatever GPS you get from the rental car, it never was driven by me anywhere but literally up the street, back. I didn't hardly drive it anywhere. So there was no rental car driven to any kind of places at all. The only time I went anywhere in the rental car might have been maybe 40, 50 miles. I don't know, no more than 100 miles, counting there and back. And that was just driving it through the day because I went back to get my car.
Because everything that I've looked at in this case, when you see the blood spatter on the wall, you see a big pool in the corner.
Okay.
You see your shoes that we've collected with Gannon's blood on the bottom of them.
Okay.
And then you point to Eduardo, who doesn't exist, or maybe he did exist, and we don't have a last name.
Okay.
Then you point to Quincy Brown, and then you say Uncle Matt, these names and stuff, and it's like, I've seen it before, and that was Harold. That was.
But I'm not Harold.
I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying this is my experience.
Right. I got you.
I'm not saying you are, but it didn't go well for him because his attorney got up. He's one of the best attorneys in Colorado. He cost $600,000. Craig Truman, and he started
paid $600,000. Okay.
with his dead wife's money. And Craig got up and said, "Harold is not a murderer, but he is a liar."
Right.
And that's what I was worried about when I first got the case, because they asked me to come in and work that case because I had worked other cases like it. And Harold's just sitting there all confident and whatever else. Please don't say this is you. I'm just saying this is my experience, because Harold told all these different stories. But when you start out with your defense attorney saying, my client is a liar, he's just making up crap. That's to the victim's family on how Tony died. That's to his friends at church. And all of them got up and testified. These are the different ways Tony died.
Again, it's not good.
But he might be today. You don't know that if someone is willing, if this, whether it's related or not, the head thing, if someone's willing to hold a kid for 30 days, how are they not willing to kill him?
Can I ask you something, or can I say something?
Yes.
Even if the scenario would have been me just going to go talk to the lady here and telling them, hey, this is what happened. This is who did it. I know that he was hurt by someone. You know what the next question you're going to say to me? Who was this person? And all I'd say to you was, well, can you help me figure it out from this app? Or can you help me figure it out from this? And you know what you'd say to me? Oh, yeah, sure. Right? That's exactly what you would say to me. So finding unless I can take you directly to where Gannon is, safe and sound, that is the only way that you're going to be like, oh, okay, she was telling the truth about something.
So this person is telling you that he's safe.
So that's the only thing. I've even asked y'all, or I say y'all again, I mean, you're
I get it.
Okay, hey, please help. Why isn't there a reward? Please, please, please. You're not understanding. Like, I have begged that completely. Like, day in and day out. Begged it. Begged it to let me.
I still don't understand.
This is interesting about the car. She hardly drove it, but she claimed the whole reason she got the rental car was to avoid putting mileage on her car, and then she returned the rental car the next day. When he brings up the blood spatter, she redirects again. Are you surprised? He's letting her know, hey, lying isn't working for you. What you're doing is not going to work for you. At this point, she is mentally just shutting him out. And she claims Gannon's not dead. I suspect she might think if they don't have Gannon's body, then they won't be able to make the charges stick. Or that if she can get them to believe he's alive, she can continue holding him ransom until she figures out a way out of this. And here she's just resorting to her usual tiresome games, and again implies that if she doesn't tell them where Gannon is, it's their fault. I've left out the clip where Letecia was alone in the room. She didn't do any headstands, in case anyone's wondering. In this next clip, you'll see someone else enter the room. This is in response to Letecia's insistence that she speak to Agent Grusing off camera.
I'm with the district attorney about this.
Just so you know, I looked behind there. This place is under construction. There's no one back. I can walk you back there if you want to look.
Oh, no, I believe it. I'm just talking about all these people watching.
Yeah, and Martha's been watching.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
John said you wanted to talk to me?
About protection.
So I don't have any trust in anyone. Obviously, I know I've told him that I said things to Albert because I was not or whatever. But how do I know that I'm going to get help? Like, because I didn't hurt them at all. But I need the help to figure out how we're going to get to them.
Let me read you what she wrote.
Okay.
Or I'll just show it to you.
And I know it's Saturday. I probably
I had things Saturday and had nothing to do with phone. That's what. So we do have your phone, and we have gone through, like, these are keystrokes.
Right. I'm talking about, like, it's when you download.
Did you have a different phone beside the one that was in your van? Did you have another phone? Like a second phone?
Yeah. No. It's the same phone.
It's the same phone?
Yeah. No, not the same phone. You guys have the phone. That was just the real phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at this time, like,
Yeah, I'm saying that's the same, the 843 is the
Okay.
55 number.
But you didn't have a second one that this app might be on.
No. I only have this phone.
So, and let me explain, Martha, my understanding of what Letecia is asking is, how does she know, since I've said, if there's a bad guy or guys out there that did this to Gannon, that she can tell us where these guys are, and she's concerned for not only her safety, but the safety of her family.
Right.
And how can
He
she...
asked me would I trade my life for Gannon, and I said yes, but I said it's also other people. Like, how do I know that everyone else is not going to be like that? And how do I know that you guys aren't just trying to be like, whatever, if I walk you through anything or can help you with anything, I don't want to be just thrown somewhere, like, being like, okay, well, you didn't tell me this, and I want to be able to help you and work together because I'm sure you have kids or grandkids or whatever. I do. I don't want to sound like I'm cold-hearted, and I'm just tired of being like the person chased instead of being able to have someone to actually have compassion to help me.
Well, I was a little bit confused when I was watching it because John talked about how they're the FBI and they're the premier law enforcement agency that could protect you, could protect your entire family. And if Gannon's alive,
Okay.
I can't make you any promises.
Right.
Because obviously there's a lot of information that you have that we don't.
Okay.
So there aren't any promises. I can't come in here and promise you anything regarding the court case or the arrest warrant or your involvement.
Okay.
But I can tell you what the number one priority is.
Right.
And it's to find Gannon.
Right.
And so if you were talking to some small law enforcement agency and they said, sure, we'll protect you, I mean, I can see how you would be suspicious of that.
Well, you guys are the lead agency. That's why I was asking.
It. Yeah, I mean, they're the most elite agency there is.
Oh, okay.
And so if there was a time for you to feel like that you could protect
that reporter, we can.
Because I know you have yours. That's what I'm saying.
There's a backup.
So if you want the recording turned off, you need to tell us really explicitly that that's your choice. Because the recording have been put into law so that there's not a debate where he says you said one thing and you said I didn't, right? So it's to protect the person being interviewed.
Right.
But if it's something that you...
It's not that I'm trying to, I just don't, it's just I wanted to have like a conversation with him, just him, and try to explain to him in complete detail about everything, because I do want this, I want the help to the next level to find out where he is. I really do. You guys have looked, you went to GPSs and all this, but you haven't found Ian because you're coming after me. And I understand you're going to say, well, this is what we have to go on, and I respect that totally. But it was the first time I ever get to sit down with people to actually to say, okay, this is what happened, this is what I know, please help me. Because then I feel like if I don't, Because see, I easily would be like, hey, just give me an attorney and call it a day. I really want. So do you think I want to waste time if I got resources when that's all I've asked for? I don't want to waste time.
And if there's a chance, it can be saved. Everybody wants that information. But the only people who can save them are the FBI. I don't want you to think that this is being broadcast to the whole world.
Right.
You know, there's another DA with me. There's no African person.
Right.
And they're the ones, the reason that we do that also is I might miss something, and I probably do. And so then I can go talk to them and say, what am I missing? And then also it protects you, because if I make a promise that I can't deliver on with the FBI, then Martha gets to hear it, and then she would knock on the door.
But as soon as I give you information, what's going to happen is someone's going to say, well, you were involved with this person. You were cheating with this person. You were doing this. I'm just giving you scenarios.
But that's a lot better situation than you're in right now.
But what if I wasn't? That's my thing. And that's where the burden of proof, I can't depend my life on the burden of proof to be involved with just someone thinking that I'm just a bad person. I did not hurt Gannon. Okay.
There aren't any promises I can make you about you. I can tell you that we're looking for the truth. And it seemed to me from listening to it that you had information, but I can't make you any promises.
But what I'm saying is, if you're saying to me, I have information, you're going to come and say, well, you should have given this information when I did nothing but attack.
But
that's what I'm saying.
You
see what I'm saying?
You can't armchair quarterback yourself, though. You know what I'm saying? You can't look into the future and say, well, we're going to say this because you said that. If what Martha and I are saying are true, and that our only focus is Gannon, we don't care who leads us there, we just need Gannon, then you are protecting yourself by telling us this. If you never give us this information, then you don't protect yourself. And then we have one person to prosecute for Gannon.
Well, and our focus is who took him and who hurt him, not with when people came forward with information.
How do I know that? Because that's my biggest thing. I know you're saying that, but like whatever I can do to help, I can help you. But I'm saying, how do I know that if, let's just say it's whatever, I tell you a specific person, okay? Let's just say that, okay? Then my thing is, well, your thing is going to be like, well, you held this information for me, and I'm having to utilize my resources, okay, and do all those things, not understanding that maybe sometimes there are people who are afraid of any other things going on.
Every day in my work, there are people who report things later than some people think they should. Every day. And we try to focus on the violent crime. And we certainly try to focus on the kids. I know that you want assurances, and you want me to be able to say, you know, I will or won't do this. And I can't make you promises because I'm in the dark. Right? It would be foolish for me to make you promises, but I have people who late report sex assault all the time. We have people who come forward years later. Our interest is in the truth about the crime. This is really all conversation to have. And I know that you wanted to have a frank conversation with them where you could really tell them. But unless you need me, I'm going to step out.
But you're still going back in the room.
Would you like
to turn it off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll turn it off.
How do I know that? Not that I don't want you to know anything. I want to be able to like really talk to him. Know that I can sincerely see in your heart you're going to help me.
I can bring you back there and you can see us turn it off. But the truth is, I could just turn it back on again.
I know.
I mean, there's a point where no one can verify everything you want.
Well, plus, that's her life. She has to tell the truth, just like I to you, when you don't want her to listen to you. You kind of have to look at logic here.
Okay.
I don't think Martha would throw away.
I don't want you to know. I want you to have all the information.
Yeah.
That's it.
So are you okay with the reporting continuing? We just won't be monitoring.
No, I don't. He said that
You wanted to turn off?
He said I could just talk to him.
Okay. So we're just going to turn off the recording, and that's your choice. That's
Okay.
what you want, right?
Yes.
And so he controls the turning it off from here, or are they?
No, you'll have to ask.
Okay, I'll have
Find
to.
someone.
And so it's just going to get turned off,
Okay.
And then once it's done, then I'll come back out and we'll turn it back on.
and it'll be a conversation between the two of you, and it'll be like the way law enforcement.
All right.
Anything else for me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get him. Turn it on.
Do you want me to
No,
do that?
it's fine. I just...
Agent Grusing first gets Letecia locked in about her phone. That way she can't later claim, no, it was a different phone the app was on. This claim that she would trade her life for Gannon's is outrageous in the circumstance. And if she really was willing to trade her very life, but worried about other people, and when has she ever worried about anyone but herself? She would have gone straight to Albert or the police with that plea for help right from the get-go. After all, she has common sense, so she claims. Even in talking to this district attorney, she throws in an emotional hook of, I'm sure you have kids and grandkids. She's tired of being chased and instead wants compassion. Maybe if she didn't run, maybe if she lifted a finger to help. But she won't see that. Everybody owes her. Letecia uses the term burden of proof, while clearly having no idea what that means. She did at one time claim to have a law degree in addition to her teaching PhD. Agent Grusing uses Letecia's own self-interest here when he points out to her that by telling the truth, she's protecting herself. But of course, she doesn't see that. Like always, she has set a course, has an idea of what she wants, so that's where she's going no matter what. And where she's going is to attempt to play with Agent Grusing's heart and mind. It's not to tell the truth. This is already too long, so I'm going to leave it here for now. There will be a part 4. Thank you for listening.